What kind of propositions have you gotten? Like marriage proposals?
Not quite.
Like what are we talking about here? Give us some deets. Come on.
Yeah, the girls, they just chase me down. I don't know. Yeah.
All right. Well, if it wasn't broads, what kind of proposals are we talking about?
I've had guys call me up. Oh, I love what you did to your engine. Can you rebuild my engine? I'll send it to you. I had one guy in France wanted to ship his engine over and have me done. I'm like, no, I don't really.
You should have said like $300 an hour. Sure, send it
well,
to me.
there's a liability with it. I'm not really a professional car builder. I'm just ridiculous with.
What's the liability? The guy's from France. What's he gonna do?
And welcome back to a brand new episode of the Do or Die Porsche podcast. My name's Dwayne Wick. Oh, I did not expect that. The cursory drum roll. I'm joined by my partner, Mr. JP. John, how are you tonight, sir?
Doing A-OK. I just realized that we have buttons.
I love it.
It's terrible. We're not going to use those. I
want
to God,
those buttons.
But those buttons are really bad. Does it stop? Does it just keep going?
That's the long one. You played the long one. Keep that
it just
for
keeps
when.
going. That's just like we're not even.
My
funny.
first
That's
joke
terrible.
will definitely be worthy of that. Hey, we also have Wade from Tech Daily. Have you heard of that YouTube channel?
Oh, I hope not. I hope you guys haven't seen it.
He replaced me temporarily, and everyone said it was for the best.
Oh, that's
so
okay.
we had to resort to fisticuffs tonight to kind of figure out.
And he won, so I'm down in the peanut gallery.
That's right.
But I'm happy to be back, and I have to say this place looks a little bit more star-studded than usual with everyone here. And from last week's episode, you guys are really pulling some heavy hitter guests. I have to say,
Absolutely.
Speaking of a heavy hitter guest, another YouTuber.
Indeed,
right over here.
we have a very special guest today, Mr. Mike Musk, joining us from Mike's Restorations, which is actually one of my favorite YouTube channels. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so good to have you. And, I stumbled upon your channel just to jump right into it. I do want to say that Miami J's outside as well. We can't forget
as
about
well as
Motor
Chef,
J.
too. Chef's out there as well.
There, great.
And I think they're
food.
attracting women.
It
I
looks
think they're trying to get women
doing
in
a
here.
drug deal. I'm seeing like in the behind me, like something's going down behind me.
Which would be really weird if there were actual women in here, because I think the
Not
only
gonna
woman
happen.
we've ever had on the show was Emily, and I think she was supposed to show up tonight, but I think she heard that all of us dudes are going to be here, and she's like, I'm out.
It would have been great to have her.
Yeah.
I was saying that I came across your channel, and I had no idea that you were in Las Vegas. So as I began to watch, I started to say, oh, that house kind of looks like something that you would find in Las Vegas. Or, there were little clues here and there. And then I soon realized that one of the most talented like 9/11 restorers is in my very own hometown. So I was absolutely thrilled. It just got louder. Is that me?
Yep.
Okay. I'm astounded by your channel. I love it. And what I like about your channel is that you are meticulous.
Oh, thanks.
You don't stop until it's perfect, which I recognize that in myself.
Yeah.
Like if something's not right, there's a part of me that's like, I might try it. And if it's not right, I come back and I do it again until I think it's right, or someone else says, Dwayne, that's not right.
Yeah, it's a sickness. It's called OCD.
It comes across because, like, if you guys have seen his channel, like the carbs you spent. How long did you spend just on the Weber carb? And actually, what is it? You have a 1960.
Yeah, it's a 1967 911, 66 model year. Oh, 66 build, but it was a 67 model year because the build date was November 66.
Okay, short wheelbase.
Short wheelbase, yeah.
Coveted short wheelbase.
Yeah, and very, very original and very unmolested car to begin with. It belonged to a friend of mine in California. I knew this friend of mine for almost 30 years, and I didn't even know he had the car.
He was hoarding it.
Well, actually, it's just kind of a long runaway story. I'll make it short. He had it kept in his mom's garage literally since 1978. He was a second owner. Car stayed there because he couldn't afford to get it repaired, didn't know anything about car work. Mom passed away many years later, and things had to happen with the house, so the car had to come out of it.
Right.
Which is where another friend of mine acquired it temporarily. but it's been
And did you
garaged.
know about it the whole time?
No.
Like, I mean, once it made that first move?
No.
Okay.
No, I knew Mark for he was my boss, so to speak. I'm in construction, cabinet guy. Mark was running the job sites. We were working in California at the time. And many times we would go out to lunch and out to dinner after work up in L.A., long days working, talk about all kinds of things. He never brought it up. And then years and years and years later, ended up acquiring it. And he was a great deal of help getting it registered, because when you find an old car like that, if it doesn't have a title, you got a real problem on your hands.
Yeah. And when you try to transfer from California to Nevada,
Right.
you're legally not really supposed to cross the border, right?
That's right, and that's what I did.
Yeah.
My mom at the time, she had a friend at the DMV, explained the situation to him. He was pretty high up in the DMV, supervisor.
Can
He
I
said-
can I get his?
No, he's gone now. He's retired, but this was a while ago. Anyways, she said, talk to Dave, and Dave will tell you what he thinks. And he said, bring it on in. I think we can do something.
Nice.
So I went ahead and brought the car in. And over the course of the next year, going to local courts and down to the DMV several times, I just totally blanked out. Nothing. I could do nothing.
Wow.
I found a place.
You spent a year
I spent
trying
a
to
year
register
trying
the car
to get
in Nevada.
this thing titled, because if you couldn't get a title on it, there's no point in doing any restoration work.
Right.
But I knew the car would ultimately be worth the effort, because
yeah.
it's just so complete.
How many 1966
That
911s?
That
It's
particular
not an S.
one, no, it was coming up right at the same serial numbers as the S, so it was like side by side
Oh, awesome.
in the
Okay.
build-up. So yeah, the S was available, but only by a month or two. So it was a real early 911.
Right.
Um,
And those, I mean, 65 is the first year of the 911.
Yeah,
Six-
yeah, I guess
66 well, the
in
64
marketing it was,
yeah.
it's kind of weird how that all works out.
But they only made like 2,000 or so, right? I mean, this is a pretty
yeah, there was about
low production car.
3,000, 3,200
Okay.
of the original 911. There was no E, no T, no S, no anything.
Mhm.
And then came the S, and then the Targa, kind of in the same year. So 66 was kind of a really big transition year.
Yeah.
And I found out when I was restoring the car, a lot of the hardware on the car was zinc plated. Some of it was yellow.
Right. They didn't really have the process down. Like, are
Right.
we doing yellow zinc? Are we doing
Right. They were
cat-
just bringing that on, so they were running out of the bins as new parts were coming in. So it was kind of a crossover year. So I tried to put everything back as close to original as it would have come when it was built, and it was so clean that I could actually, when I cleaned up the parts, I could see and trace the coloration, and then try and put it back as accurately as I could.
That's awesome. So you actually do have a mix of silver.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of mix
plating
on the
and-
car. Yeah, like you go a little bit later, they all go to yellow chromate.
Right.
Yeah.
And so before this, were you a Porsche guy, or it was kind of
No.
like, I found, because I know you have an
Not at all.
MG that is spectacular. Is it an
It's
MG?
a Sunbeam Tiger,
Sunbeam Tiger. Okay.
1965 Mark One.
Right.
And I rebuilt that car. I bought it in 2004 and restarted in 2005. And by 06, it was on the road. And I just refined it over the years. I still have it. I've had it almost 20 years.
There's a shot of you taking it into the SEMA show.
Yeah,
Did
it's
someone ask you to bring it, or
It's been to SEMA a couple times. I was invited by the guys from 303 goldeagle.com.
okay?
They're back east out of Chicago. And they make all the 303 products, Stabil, fuel stabilizers,
Yeah,
and chemical. They're into it. And super bunch of guys and gals to work with.
Nice.
They took really good care of the car when it was in their hands, and I
Right.
was really happy to work with them. And they were referred to me through a friend of mine who was contacted by the Tiger Club. He says, "Oh, I got a guy that's got a really nice car. You could talk to him." And
The Sunbeam Tiger's a British car, but people put like Ford motors in them or something. They had a Ford motor. Is
right,
that
it's
what-
actually a British car that was engineered by Carroll Shelby.
That's right. That's right.
It's basically a Cobra.
But it looks different on the outside.
It does. It's a
Yeah, I mean,
little bit
obviously it's a
smaller
British looking-
wheelbase, and tracking is a little bit, tighter.
Mhm.
It didn't do as well in the race circuit as the Cobras, but it was set up the same with the same engine, the transmission, rear end, everything. But it just didn't have the the outer structure and the
Right.
suspension. So the Cobras were much more successful in the racing circuit. However, the Tigers were much more successful being sold to the general public. They sold around 7,000 of them
Okay.
before the whole run ended.
When you go to a car show, do the Cobra guys let you park next to them?
Yeah.
Or are you kind of like the like a 912 showing up to the
That's so funny.
911?
That's so funny you should say that, because I've always loved the Tiger. I had the Alpine in high school, and it was a 4-cylinder car. I went for a ride with a buddy who had a Tiger once, and that's it. I never got it out of my system. It was just so ridiculous.
And for people who don't know, it's a convertible. I mean,
It's
just a
right. It's a 2-seat
roadster,
British
basically.
roadster,
Yeah.
small car, lightweight, and just tons of power. You know, they got the Ford V8. I mean, you just can't beat it.
tons of torque. Yeah.
Yeah, lots of torque. Anyhow, I was working feverishly to get this car restored and finished and on the road because they had a Shelby event out at the racetrack, and then they were going to Fremont Street to do a concours and a show out there. I just wanted to hang out with the Shelby guys. This
Right.
was the first time out. I didn't know anything about cliquish clubs or cliche anything like that. I just
Which
wanted
is the
to
way it should be. Like when you roll into a car show, there shouldn't be a
you guys
a
over
preview.
here, and
Yeah,
you
there
guys, well,
shouldn't be
we're
a-
better than, all that stuff. Forget it. I just wanted to go have fun and hang out with the guys. I mean, these were cool
Well, hey,
cars.
hold on. Let's be honest. Some people are better than others.
JP doesn't get a front row spot.
Anyways,
You know,
they
you
gave
show
me, some dirty looks when I showed up, like, what's that doing here? I never really felt it, but I was just having fun anyways. We were parked right in front of one of the hotels on Fremont Street, and we just had a blast. Well, the next day at the racetrack, they had a concourse. I didn't even know they were having a concourse. And turns out they were having a public voting on Fremont Street and a concourse competition at the racetrack. None of I knew anything about. And the first time out with that car, it won both People's Choice Award and Best of Show. And
Wow.
those guys were not happy.
Hey, so I'm looking at your channel, Mike. You've got hundreds of 150 something
Yeah.
videos already. It looks like you started this restoration project back 6 years ago on the 911.
Yeah, the 911 is about 7 years. I've got over 5,000 hours in that.
Holy jeez! Now you
Yeah,
have
it's just crazy.
your most recent video that was published about a month ago, if I'm looking at it correctly.
Yeah.
I watched that video. Did I get it right? Was that the first time that the car has been on the road?
Yeah, that's the actual first time that car has been under its own power since 1978, since it was parked in my friend's mother's garage.
Wow. All right. So
That's
it's on the road now. What else is left to do to it? Or are you like, now that it's perfect, what does a guy like you do now that you finished a 7-year project? I mean, do you drive it, or
Yeah.
do you move
Oh, yeah.
the car and start something else?
No, I drive it. I'm very careful about the cars. I love the cars, and I like the driving experience. It's not all about the horsepower. How fast will it go? I don't really care. I just want, what does it feel like to sit in the car and hear the sounds, feel the suspension in those days? Very analog, everything. The wind coming in the window, or in the Tiger's
it
case.
has the pop-out windows, right?
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
front,
I love it, man.
Yeah,
Just
those
pull
are
that
amazing.
little wind wing, and you got the air. It's
wing
really
windows, yeah.
quite cool in there for this time of year. I've taken it a couple of times in the heat.
You recorded your first drive with it. I remember
Yeah.
watching part of it. What was that kind of feeling like after a 6-year restoration? I mean, describe your...
Yeah. Actually, I had not intended doing on any video on the first drive because I'm just terrified of it. I'm like, I don't know what it's going to do. I'm so focused on just starting the car and not being stuck out in the middle of traffic somewhere
Right.
with a problem I don't know how to figure out. Because if you saw the original or the first startup video, man, that the fuel delivery just beat me to death. And I just wasn't confident that the car would do anything. So real baby steps. I took it out as best I could, just in real small steps, and brought my phone anyways in case I had to call somebody. And little by little, I'm just like stretching it out, thinking, wow, this thing's actually going pretty good. So I thought, well, maybe I could hold the camera and just, it's not a real fancy, here's my first drive and we got, drone photography
Sure.
and all that. I wish that could have been the case, but this is a reality. This is how it really goes down.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the first drive. The first time this has got a mile. If you look at the speedometer as it's going over the odometer, you can see where it's kicking over the first mile, second mile, So
when you had them restored, you just went back to zero. Did you know the mileage coming in, or?
Yeah, it was just over 90 something.
Oh, okay, so somebody did drive that car a fair.
Yeah,
I mean, granted,
he drove it until it just wouldn't go
old,
anymore.
Yeah,
and
there's
that
the
was
video.
it.
Can we see it? I missed it.
Yeah, everyone else saw it.
Okay,
Dwayne.
you're right.
The big TV that's like right in front of your face that the video was on.
I've seen it.
Everyone
anyway.
else saw it. You haven't seen it. That's right. But no, let's go. We'll just stop the show and back up so that you can see the part that everyone else already saw. Is that what you want us to do?
So, what's the fan base been like? Because one of your videos has almost over 50,000 views, right? I mean, that's pretty awesome for car guys. Like, I mean, just knowing how hard it is. And weight,
it's
of
just
course.
a lot of views on YouTube in general. I mean, for any video, and especially something car-related, restoration-related, niche. I mean, it's really interesting.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's tough.
Do a lot of people reach out to you? And,
oh yeah, yeah, I get a lot. I get people hunt me down in emails and phone calls, and however they can try and get a hold of me. They got questions or they got propositions and whatever.
Wow.
Professionally, I'm not in the game.
What kind of propositions have you gotten? Like marriage proposals?
Not quite.
Like what are we talking about here? Give us some deets. Come on.
Yeah, the girls they just chase me down. I don't know. Yeah.
All right. Well, if it wasn't broads, what kind of proposals are we talking about?
I've had guys call me up. Oh, I love what you did to your engine. Can you rebuild my engine? I'll send it to you. I had one guy in France wanted to ship his engine over and have me done. I'm like, no, I don't really.
You should have said like $300 an hour. Sure. Send it
well,
to me.
there's a liability with it. I'm not really a professional car builder. I'm just ridiculous with.
What's the liability? The guy's from France. What's he going to do?
Okay, so I rebuild the guy's engine, and when I ship it back over to him, I think it's right. He starts it up, blows it up, calls me up, says, "Hey, the engine I just spent $20,000 on it, $30,000 is no good. What are you going to do?"
Is he going to serve you in small claims court? He's from France.
Yeah,
who cares?
I know it.
Screw that guy. We don't like French people.
No, they're all very sincere, and they don't really know my background or, I'm a cabinet maker by trade. I have a cabinet business, so I'm used to working with my hands and try to be as professional as I can with whatever I'm doing.
Right.
It might be the most honest and straightforward car person, restoration guy, mechanic. I mean, this is
That's why he doesn't do any work on anyone else's cars. That's the problem. You're never going to find a guy like him to actually do work on your car.
It's different.
The honest guys won't do it.
Well, if you're professional, it's a totally different game because you have to make money. You're not going to survive if you don't make money. And you can do a pretty good job, but you can't spend like with the carburetors. You can't spend 300 hours. Who's going to pay 300 hours?
To make it that perfect.
No, nobody. Yeah. So that's something only you can appreciate, you would enjoy. And for me, I enjoy it. So I'll put the time in. I just want them right.
I feel that 100%.
Would you sell that car, Mike? I mean, you say you're going to drive it, but what if somebody offered you, what if that French guy, what if Pierre calls up and he's like, blank check, what do you want for that thing?
Blank check?
Don't say anything because someone's going to hit you up.
Yeah. That's a baited question. The car really is not for sale. I mean, I'm supposing one day it will be. When I get to a time in life when it's time to move to something different, I would probably sell it. But I didn't restore it to sell it or to make money. And a lot of restorations are about that. And that's where it's tough. Like, we're hobbyists, so we want to go buy a classic car. And we look at it online and bring a trailer or whatever and go, wow, this one looks pretty good and it's got a lot of stuff done. But really, you don't want it. I mean, anybody who's screwed around with it, it's just wrecked, in my opinion. Stop right there. You need a car that nobody's touched because it's going to be very difficult to trace it back to the beginning.
I disagree with you on that because I think it's fun sometimes to discover the atrocities. So I actually get a little bit of joy out of it because I find something I immediately recognize. I'll give you an example. I bought a car.
Hold on. Let's save it for after the break because I'm really curious to see what gets Dwayne off. We'll find out right after this. Hey guys, I gotta tell you about our friends Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you gotta call our friend Steve at Godden. This guy. Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for. Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. All right, well, Dwayne, you were about to tell us what gets you off. So why don't Mark is he wants to know. I mean, look at the guy.
Mike?
I'm sorry, Mike. Did I say Mark?
Mike.
I said.
But his last name is Musk,
Mike.
so
Mike.
There's a lot of M's going on.
Like
there.
my brother Elon.
God
Yeah,
damn,
you
you
know
know,
what?
Family
you
name.
SpaceX guy over here.
You know, it really upsets me. He never calls. He never.
And he never sends
pretty
checks.
busy.
never
more
sends me a
importantly.
month. Never sends me anything on my birthday. Christmas comes around, forget about it.
What a dick.
What a
All
total
right.
bummer. Can I give a quick shout out to Godden Ford?
Ford?
Godden Ford. So sister company to our friends Godden Porsche. I bought a car there, and Tanner over there is taking care of me. So shout out to Godden. Great service, great people. Appreciate them. And,
Fantastic.
yeah, I forget. What were we discussing before we? I don't even remember. I don't remember what excites me. Something.
We were talking
We'll
about
skip it.
cars.
We were, but in the break, I learned.
No,
that-
you were talking about the things that get you excited is when something is
Oh,
really
yeah.
messed up on a car and you
Just
get
a quick,
yeah,
ex-
yeah.
quick
you were giving
example.
an
It was I bought a car and there were electrical issues. I started taking it apart. The main wiring harness was cut like in 20 places.
Wow.
So while that's a disaster because I had to buy an entirely new harness, it was still kind of interesting to go on a detective
Right. Yeah.
thing.
I had some of that.
All the, so I
Yeah.
had to completely take the dash apart, find out where they cut the ignition. They also cut it in the tunnel and all these other places. But yeah, so that excites me.
I'm sure it excites you from the garage and not the side of the road. You know,
Agreed.
finding it first.
Good
and
point, Wade.
foremost.
It's better when they don't cut the harness.
It is right.
Yeah.
Why do people cut the harness?
I don't know, but I got.
They should never cut the harness.
I've got 2 days into making my horns work because somebody cut the harness and taped it up.
Yeah.
And the only way I could find it was with a wiring diagram and just traced everything. And I'm looking at it, staring at it, going, there's got to be a wire under there, under that tape. And I undid it, and sure enough, it was cut. And that's why I couldn't get my horns working.
Wiring issues on 911s are notorious because the Germans love earth. They love grounding stuff, right? And like the old, my car is from the 70s. You look behind the dash and it's like brown wire, which is the earth or the ground, jumping from gauge to gauge.
Oh, yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean? And
yeah.
then they're like, and then one's like screwed to the dash, and then
Oh, yeah.
and then the clock is notorious for can burn your whole car down.
Oh, yeah.
because there's no
Yeah.
capacitor
Yeah.
in line or something.
I started a fire on the
You
911.
did?
Yeah, I did.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. I was screwing around with the steering column, and they had some hot leads coming up there. And I don't even know what I did, man. It just started smoking like bam.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Would you run over the battery
I
and
just boom. I
disconnect it?
unplugged that sucker
Yeah.
right away. And-
Mike,
and
Mark,
electricity.
did you hear the story that Dwayne recently found on the fuel lines on a car he's working on? That story is you didn't tell that story in the last episode, did you?
No.
Yeah, you got to tell the story. This is insane.
Yeah, well, I mean, credit to actually Trophy because Todd discovered it and told me before I started working on the car. So credit goes to Todd, but he's like, "Hey, man, the fuel lines are bad." I go, "Okay." So I guess that'll be the first job I do. Sure enough, I go through the whole rigmarole of pulling the tunnel lines, which you did as well on your car.
Yeah.
And I discover in the middle is a hole like that big, like a 1-inch hole in one of the fuel lines
In the middle of the tunnel?
in the middle of the tunnel. So what had happened was, and this actually is quite a common occurrence, is tall guys want to have their seat moved
yeah.
down.
Yeah.
And somebody's like, "Oh yeah, well I'll just weld that seat rail. No
Right.
worries."
Yeah, the screws go right over the top of that.
It's
fuel line.
right next to the
Yeah.
tunnel fuel line. So
Yeah.
they burned a 1-inch hole
nice.
in the poly fuel lines, which I'm just imagining. So like when you're working on a car, it already had like whatever 60,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
There's fuel in those lines.
That's right.
Unless
yeah.
they blew them out with air, which they probably didn't. They just moved the seat rail. So I'm imagining this guy's welding. All of a sudden he burns through that fuel line. I mean, that whole car could have gone up in flames in seconds. I don't know how they avoided that. Some miraculous thing happened, but
Very, very lucky.
yeah, got lucky.
And that's
So-
explosion stuff. Right?
Yeah, I always carry a fire extinguisher
Ditto.
in my cars.
You have one
You
in
know,
the
not-
Sunbeam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't never leave the driveway unless I got an
You
extinguisher.
have one in the
there.
in the pickup? Or the
I don't know. I'm not a modern
Not a
car. I'm
mo-
not
it's a-
worried
yeah,
about
you're
it.
fine
But the
about
old
that.
cars with the wiring and the fuel systems, yeah. I just
especially
definitely-
British cars. My
Oh
goodness.
yeah, yeah. They're worse than the Germans.
Yeah. During the break, I actually learned an interesting fact about you. You're actually you're probably still practicing, but you're a martial arts black belt in Muay Thai. No, not Muay Thai.
Shaolin Kempo. Shaolin Kempo.
Shaolin Kempo.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Used to-
Dwayne wants to, or I'm sorry, Chef wants to know if the two of you have ever done one of those 23andMe DNA tests because
If
we
you
feel like there's a familiarity here.
I love Mike because he's a cabinet maker by trade.
It's like looking in a mirror.
It really is. Like, I admire this guy so much. You guys don't
Dwayne's
even know.
nuts. That's why I like him.
Oh, but your attention to detail is you're speaking my language. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm one of the annoying guys that reached out to you, found your phone number, and was like, "Hey, will you CAD plate some stuff for me?" Because you actually do your own CAD plating,
Right.
in your garage, which is is like a whole thing unto its own.
Yeah, that's
And
a whole nother.
you were telling me
learning
you
curve.
only do it in the summer because
Right.
you have to have the right temperature. Even like you're that particular about getting it right.
For me, that's what works really well. If you
Yeah.
want really good results, you need temperature. Doing that stuff in the wintertime, trying to use heaters, forget it. It's
And you
just not
did
worth
all
it.
the hardware and
Everything.
plating
Everything.
on your car in your
Everything.
garage.
Yep.
Yeah, that's astounding.
And
It's
that's-
really hard to do, people.
If you
I can't
can grasp
understate
it
that.
and you can learn it, and you have a system to do it, and you really want to restore a car right, it's nice to have that control because you end up doing a lot of very critical pieces on the car that are very small. You can't really send them out; they can lose them. You know, what color is it? Well, this one needs to be this color. This one needs to be this color. So it's just nice to deal with the smaller part of the restoration, and it's those little details I think that makes a big difference.
And you get to take a break from mechanical stuff or
Yeah.
wiring
Oh,
or
yeah.
interior. Wait,
For-
did you do the interior as well, or did
I
you
did
farm
part
that
of
out?
it.
Okay.
Like Dorian, Dorian at
Yeah, yeah,
Autos
yeah.
International. He supplied all the materials and kit to put it all together.
Awesome.
I did everything I could. What I couldn't do, I had him do for me. And those guys are just awesome.
You built the engine
Yep.
and you rebuilt the carbs. What about the transmission? What was the shape of the
yeah,
901?
Transmission, I had Kurt and Sarah from Classic Automotive Training School. I had them do it. And man, it's just beautiful. They did a beautiful job on that. And he also did video work on the restoration of that transmission. And I've got that video series logged in my collaboration video.
Right. So if you want to see that, and actually, Kurt, his automotive training school YouTube series is great for home mechanic. Like if you're a Porsche guy, you want to know about distributors. Like he's a distributor ace.
Yeah. Well, the thing of it is with Kurt, he's professional. Yeah, he's professional, and he goes way back. He was trained from Porsche in Australia. Went to school. They trained him.
Oh, he's actually
he
former
worked
Porsche
for
mechanic.
Porsche in the early days. Preferred working on the air-cooled cars when they come in. That's where he learned his craft. Had his own business. Had a couple of businesses. So Kurt, he knows his stuff. I'm not professional. I'm just crazy like you. I'll play with it, and I try things. A lot of things I try aren't right, and I always learn the hard way. But with
The School of Hard Knocks.
right. That's how I learned.
a great
Yeah, I
teacher.
love it.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious, as far as the video side of things, was your goal to document? Was your goal to share? Was your goal just to have something for yourself?
That's a good question.
I mean, I would imagine the videos that you created for them are invaluable, and the videos you've created for, casual viewers are really interesting. But what was sort of the idea? I mean, most people don't just pull out a camera while they're working on their cars, especially not for hundreds of videos.
Oh, okay. So I'm really glad you asked that question because the channel and what happened there ultimately was never intended to be. It was just kind of an accident that I was committed to that just grew.
How many subs do you have? How many subs? Like how many people are subscribed to your channel?
Oh,
Do you know?
we're over 9,000 now, which is
Over
actually
9,000?
Yeah, which is
9.16 thousand.
That's awesome.
which is really quite a following because the way YouTube works, it's very difficult to get views nowadays. There's so many people on the platform. So, you got 6 hours. You release a video, you've got 6 hours.
Before it goes into obscurity.
And then the algorithm will look at it and go, well, that's nothing. And they throw it away. They're done. And so the only way they're going to find your content after that is by people sharing your video, or there's some engagement on the video, like comments and liking and this kind of thing. Helps
Power the algorithm.
further
and get-
what we do, like what you're doing, what I'm doing. Although what I started out to do was not that. How it got started was I I had a couple videos from the first SEMA show that I went to, with the Tiger, and I wanted to send it to a couple buddies of mine in Japan. I got a lot of car friends in Japan. They're real big car culture over there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're awesome. Anyways, one of my buddies over there has a Tiger, and I wanted him to see it. So I had to like sign on to YouTube, create a user profile. I signed on as Mike M at that time. And then uploaded the video, sent it to him, and he just loved it. You know, it was really cool because there's not enough really cool Tiger content for us to.
Sure.
Anyways, that was kind of fun, and I was able to share it that way. And then a little bit later, I wanted to send, as I got into the Porsche, I thought, well, these guys, you know, he told me, yeah, anything you can share with me, because he had a forum, a blog that he does for his auto buddies over there. And I thought, well, why don't I just upload a few videos? I can, you know, and he can watch, and my friends over there can watch.
Right, but
and
you left them public.
Right, and I have friends in California also, a lot of car friends, and the guy who I got the car from, that I acquired from, Mark, who was the owner. You know, anybody who wants to watch the car progress, you know, I'm just going to upload occasionally something. And at that time, we're going back 7 years. You know, when I was videotaping, it was with an iPhone 4.
Right.
You know,
it was potato quality.
It was pretty bad, and the quality of the videos, that's just terrible. I mean, I'm just embarrassed.
Now you have a 4K camera.
Yeah, but that's how I started. You know, I didn't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to share. And so what happened over time is I started gathering a few subscribers, and they're interested in what's going on. And then before you know it, they're like, "Hey, man, can't you show us what you're doing, how you're doing
right.
it?" And
now
I'm
you
like,
feel compelled to
right.
feed
I'm
the,
like,
the
shoot,
masses.
man, yeah, I get. Well, let me see.
You have
I
a
get
responsibility.
see if I get a tripod, and maybe I can get a camera set up, and maybe I can show you. Because I was just like taping. Oh, this is what I did today, and this is how you do it, and blah blah blah. You know, very boring. And they're like, well, we want to see you do it. We want to see how you're doing, how you're getting these results. We want to know how you're doing it. So that kind of, I thought, well, I could probably do that. It's not a big deal. And then we go to that step. Well, then this goes on for like another year or so. And I don't know if you know Tom Perazzo from Garage Time.
I rode in his 75 that he backdated.
Yeah, isn't that cool, man?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom's great.
He's a really nice guy.
I really love Tom.
Talented mechanic too.
Yeah, lots of talent, and he's not afraid of anything. He's just fearless.
Yeah.
But anyhow, he reached out to me during this tenure and said, hey, I'm getting together with a bunch of other YouTube channels, and we're going to kind of collaborate, you know, and trade off. You know, we're going to show one part of the restoration, and then we're all going to kind of chip in.
Right.
And then each channel gets to showcase whatever it is we're doing.
Yeah, and you get crossover from Tom's channel, which,
Right, and so I thought, okay, yeah, I'm in. You know, I don't have a lot of time because with my cabinet business, it's just like 24/7. It's nonstop. I don't even have time to restore the car. I have no time to do the videos. And I'm like, okay, I'll do something, but I don't know how much I can do. I only do one video a month. And
that's still very good. That's relatively consistent, and I would imagine you still have a lot of audience people who want to see you uploading regularly. I would imagine.
Yeah, I got the guys. We want videos, and it's like, you know, I'm not here for that.
Do you feel the pressure of your audience at all, or the
sometimes? But now the project is done, and
that's, you got to keep feeding them though.
Yeah,
I mean, what are you going to do next?
We're going to. There's some future plans for
good.
Mike's Restoration. So, but to how we got to Mike's Restoration, so Tom said, hey, would you like to participate with us? I said, yeah. But then I started thinking, here I'm a restoration guy. What is this, Mike M? So I came up with Mike's Restorations as a name, and then we got on this forum, and that was my handle.
Gotcha.
And that's how Mike's Restorations really got some traction.
Now even I've got him saying Mark.
Mark's Restorations. So anyways, it grew from there over time, and there was any big videos that ever went bang. There's never going to be any big videos that go bang because it's just very difficult in what we do and the way the algorithm sees things to really grow your channel in a niche like this. Because
I think you said it though, a niche. Like that's important to note because we're in car culture, but then we're in a very, you know, specific branch of classic car. So the audience is limited, and I think it's okay if you serve just that audience and you do it well.
Yeah.
Which I think you do. I mean, your videos are very well edited.
I think
they're very thought out. Like
I've tried over the years to make them as right as can be, getting away from the original concept of the terrible video structure and.
Yeah, I mean that's part of it, though. I mean, you learn the process, and
but it's an A to Z catalog now. It's if you've got an early 911 or 912, and you want to know about that car, there's something in that video series for you, and you can find it. You want to know what it looks like inside. You want to know how it works. It's in there, and most of the videos are structured on the page of. You go to my playlist and you scroll down. The image should tell you what the content is.
Right.
So it's not all text. It's like it's got
you know
a
what
picture.
you're getting into.
Right.
Like
It's got a picture of the brakes, and I'm going to say brakes, and then boom, you can go right to
I
it.
do like that about your videos. How you're not jumping around to, like you said, brakes or like
Right.
paint or interior. It's usually one subject matter. You tackle that, and then that's the video.
To try and move on because I'm not professional, but there is a procedure, there is a process, a right order, just like construction, it's like anything.
Yeah.
You put something before the other thing, you're going to be backtracking and redoing it. And I've redone a lot of stuff on the car, trying to figure that process out. There's no manual out there how to do this.
You could write one now. Well, your YouTube
I've
channel
done my
is,
contribution. I think from
Yeah.
now going forward, it's just going to be fun stuff. Professionally, next year, I might dabble into some things and have a little bit of a menu to offer.
You're a professional cabinet maker.
Not anymore.
Okay, formerly or for many years. What was the main thing that you brought over? Wow.
We're trying to get your attention. Let you know it's we're about wrapped up. So let's finish it up.
Okay, so
let me
finishing
just
up
ask
then.
that one question. So, what was the one thing you took from cabinet making to the Porsche build? We'll end it on that.
Patience.
Yeah,
Just patience. It's all patience. Just,
Totally agree.
Just slow down and think about it before you dive in and waste a bunch of material and have to buy it again. Same thing with a car. Just go slow.
Mike, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the Do or Die Porsche podcast.
Oh, well, thank you.
Your
Inviting.
channel is Mike's Restorations. You can find it on YouTube.
Yeah, also
And-
have Instagram, Mike's Restorations 2020. And I have the Amazon Mike's Restoration Superstore, so be sure to check that out. And that's
Cool.
something
Okay.
I'm going to be evolving down the road
Right.
a little bit more.
This is very
Support your favorite YouTuber.
We all
Very,
want
very
support.
important.
We're trying to get
Mike,
as much support.
would you let someone else drive your car for a car review video?
As long as his name doesn't start with R.
It would have to be in a controlled environment. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Hat coming in. Oh, I dropped it. I dropped it behind me. Here we go. Got to put your car on the Rami show. There we go.
He's Shaolin Kempo, so careful.
Got it? All right, don't fall out of the chair. All right, well, hey, Mike, thank you so much. One more time, the YouTube channel is Mike's Restorations.
That's it.
That's it. Do you have to put the apostrophe in there
You know what?
in order to
If
get
you-
it to find it, or will it?
If you jump on YouTube or even Google, just type in Mike's Restorations Porsche, and you're going to get there.
It's going to find you right away. All right, guys. Thanks for watching another episode. Dwayne, Wade, and Emily Hunyadi just popped in here, and we got Chef and Miami Yay, but they're outside goofing off. You saw them
they
right
started a
behind
party
the
outside.
Yeah, I think there's a party outside. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next week on another episode of the Do or Die. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye,
Thank you.
guys.